I caught my fiancé cheating on me with my best friend on my birthday, at the party I planned, in my apartment. The worst part? They weren't even sorry. He said, "You were never enough for me," while she smirked like she won. Months later, I walked into a fancy gala, confident and glowing on the arm of the one man they both desperately wanted to impress. Their faces? Priceless. Guys, I still feel like I'm living in some kind of sick reality show. You know the kind where the sweet, trusting protagonist gets completely blindsided and everyone watching at home saw it coming except her? That's me. That's freaking me. For reference, I was engaged. His name is Tyler. We were together for 3 years. And I thought we were solid, like forever solid. You don't plan a wedding with someone unless you believe in them, right? God, I was so naive. I also had a best friend. Her name is Lauren. She and I have been attached at the hip since college. We have so many ridiculous, embarrassing, tequila-fueled stories together. I thought nothing could ever break us. I was wrong. Now, before you start thinking I should have seen the red flags, let me just say Lauren was at my side every time Tyler and I hit a rough patch. Every time I doubted myself, she was the one hyping me up. "He's so lucky to have you," she'd say. "You're way out of his league." Hell, she even helped me pick out my freaking wedding dress. And Tyler? He was the kind of guy who held my hand in the car and kissed my forehead just because. If someone had told me a month ago that they were sneaking around behind my back, I would have laughed in their face. But here's how it all came crashing down. It was my birthday. My 27th, to be exact. I'd planned a little get-together at my place, nothing huge. Just our closest friends, some drinks, a good time. Tyler had been acting a little distant the week before, but I chalked it up to work stress. Lauren, on the other hand, was all over the planning. "You only turned 27 once," she kept saying. I didn't think much of it. The night started perfectly. My apartment was packed with people I loved. The drinks were flowing, the music was perfect, and Tyler? Well, he was there, but something felt off. He wasn't next to me the way he usually was at these things. Kept checking his phone. Kept disappearing. Then came the cake. Everyone gathered around singing, and just as I was about to blow out the candles, I noticed something. Lauren was gone. Tyler was gone. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe they stepped outside. Maybe he was setting up some kind of surprise. So I blew out my candles, smiled for the pictures, and slipped away to look for them. I wish I hadn't. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what I saw when I opened my bedroom door. Tyler, shirt off. Lauren, in my bed. Their heads snapped toward me at the same time, eyes wide like two deer caught in headlights. For a second, nobody moved. The whole room felt like it had frozen. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might throw up. And then Tyler, my fiancé, had the absolute audacity to sigh like I was the inconvenience here. "You weren't supposed to see this," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "I wasn't supposed to see this?" Lauren, meanwhile, just smirked. "Let me tell you something. There is a special kind of pain that comes from realizing the two people you love the most have been laughing behind your back the entire time." I don't even know how long I stood there. It could have been 5 seconds or 5 minutes, but my brain had just shut off. And then, like an idiot, I asked, "How long?" Tyler didn't answer. Lauren did. 6 months. I swear I felt my heart physically crack inside my chest. 6 freaking months. 6 months of date nights, of wedding planning, of her helping me pick my dress while she was sneaking around with my fiancé. "You were never enough for him," she added, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. And that? That was when my shock turned into something else. Rage. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at them, shook my head, and walked right back into the living room where my party was still going strong. My hands were shaking, but my voice, steady as hell. "Everybody out." The music cut off. People looked up, confused. "What?" Someone laughed. "Get out." I must have looked insane because people moved. They grabbed their jackets, their drinks, muttering questions, but I didn't answer. I just stood there, waiting. Tyler came out of the room, shirt back on, face set in that stupid "I'm the victim here" look. "You're overreacting. Overreacting. Overreacting." Something inside me snapped. I laughed, loud and bitter. "You know what? You're right." I grabbed my keys, my wallet, and walked straight to the door. Before I left, I turned back one last time. "You two deserve each other." Then I was gone. I didn't take anything else. Not my phone, not my bag, not even my damn shoes. I just walked out into the night, barefoot, shaking, freezing, but weirdly more clear-headed than I had ever been in my life. I had nothing. No apartment, because guess what? Tyler and I lived together. No phone, no plan. But for the first time in a long time, I was done. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked. The cold pavement was like needles against my bare feet, but I barely felt it. My body was running on pure adrenaline, my brain looping that last image of Tyler and Lauren over and over like some sick, twisted movie reel. 6 months. I had spent 6 months planning a wedding with a man who was sneaking around with my best friend, and the worst part, they weren't even sorry. Lauren freaking smirked. And Tyler? He acted like I was the problem, like I was some clingy, overreacting psycho who should have just understood that he needed more than what I could give him. I felt sick. I kept walking until my legs physically gave out, and I found myself slumped on a random bench outside a 24-hour diner. I was shaking, not just from the cold, but from the sheer weight of it all. My entire life had just imploded in less than 10 minutes. What the hell was I supposed to do now? My phone was still in the apartment. My apartment, which I sure as hell wasn't going back to tonight. I had my keys, but I wasn't about to go back there and sleep under the same roof as those two. I was homeless. God, I felt pathetic. And then, because the universe wasn't done kicking me in the teeth, it started to rain. I let out a sharp laugh because, of course, it did. Why not? Why not just add to the cinematic tragedy of my life right now? I must have looked insane, sitting there in my stupid little birthday dress, hair soaked, barefoot, laughing like a lunatic. People were staring. A waitress from the diner actually came out, looking concerned. You okay?" she asked, holding a napkin like she didn't quite know what else to offer. I wiped my face, which I thought was just rain, but nope, there were tears too. "Great. Yeah," I croaked, just having the worst night of my life. She didn't ask for details, just handed me the napkin and gestured toward the diner. "You want to come in? Get some coffee or something?" I nodded, because honestly, what else was I gonna do? The diner was warm, too warm almost, compared to the freezing rain outside. I slid into a booth desk, and the waitress, her name tag said Maya, brought over a steaming cup of coffee without me even asking. I clutched it like a lifeline, staring down at the dark liquid, my reflection rippling across the surface. "What happened?" Maya asked, sliding into the seat across from me. She looked around my age, maybe a little younger. Her eyes weren't prying, just kind. And I don't know what came over me, but I told her. Not the full-on Lifetime movie version, but the basic rundown. My fiancé, my best friend, my birthday party turned total betrayal. By the time I finished, Maya was staring at me like I just told her aliens landed in my backyard. "Holy shit," she whispered. "Yeah." I took a shaky sip of coffee. "Holy shit." She shook her head. "And they just what? Acted like it was your fault?" "Pretty much." Maya let out a low whistle. "Wow. That's wow." If it makes you feel any better, I once caught my ex hooking up with my roommate, and he told me it was for the good of our relationship because he needed to explore his options before committing. I blinked. "What?" "Yeah, people are trash." I let out a half laugh, half sob. "Big mood." Maya grinned. "Look, I know you don't know me, but I get off in like 20 minutes. You need a place to crash?" I hesitated. I didn't want to be that random burden of a girl who shows up in someone's life with a rain-soaked pity story. But also, what were my options? Sleep on a bench? Go crawling back to my apartment and listen to Lauren fake moan loud enough for me to hear? Are you sure?" I asked. Maya waved a hand. "Dude, you just got wrecked by life. The least I can do is offer you my couch." So that's how I ended up crashing in the tiny but surprisingly cozy apartment of a diner waitress I had met less than an hour ago. And you know what? That night, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like lavender detergent and surrounded by the soft hum of Maya's fish tank, I didn't cry. I wanted to. God, I wanted to break down, scream, throw things something, but I was too empty. Like my body had already spent all the emotions it had to give, and now I was just numb. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was floating outside of my own body. Somewhere out there, Tyler and Lauren were probably wrapped up in my sheets, laughing about how dramatic I was, about how I'd overreacted. Somewhere out there, my entire world had just shifted, and I had no idea where to go from here. Waking up the next morning felt like waking up in someone else's life. For a few seconds, I was warm, cocooned in a soft blanket that wasn't mine, in a room that smelled vaguely of coffee and vanilla. And then, like a wrecking ball to the skull, it all came rushing back. Tyler, Lauren, the party, my bedroom, their betrayal. I sucked in a sharp breath, my chest tight. For a blissful moment, I'd forgotten. And now, it felt like someone had hollowed out my insides and left me with nothing but an echo of last night's humiliation. Maya was already up when I stumbled out of the tiny guest room, which, let's be real, was more like a glorified closet with a futon. She was in the kitchen sipping coffee and scrolling through her phone like she hadn't just taken in a stray human the night before. "Morning, heartbreak," she greeted, shoving a mug toward me. I gave her a weak smile, accepting the coffee. "Morning, questionable life choices," she snorted. "That's every morning for me." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. I sipped my coffee, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. My phone was still at their place, my stuff was still at their place, and I had nowhere to go. So Maya said, glancing at me over her mug, "What's the plan?" I huffed out a breath. I have no freaking clue. "You got friends? Family? A hitman?" I let out a sad excuse for a laugh. My family's out of state, and my only real friend was the one screwing my fiancé, so yeah, no hitman either, unfortunately. Maya made a face. "Okay, first of all, oof. Second, I feel like you need a game plan. You gonna go back and get your stuff?" The thought of walking back into that apartment made my stomach twist. I could already picture it, Lauren lounging on my couch like she owned the place, Tyler acting like he was the one who had been wronged. No way in hell. Maya shrugged. "Then you need to regroup. Do you have money? A place to crash long term?" That was the real kicker. I had some savings, sure, but they were mostly tied up in wedding expenses. Our wedding. the one that was now deader than my ability to trust people. I groaned, dropping my head onto the counter. This is a disaster. Yeah, but it's your disaster now. Maya patted my head like I was a sad puppy. So, what's your move? I sat up, gripping my coffee like it held all the answers. My lease is in both of our names, I muttered, which means technically I have a right to be there. Maya wiggled her eyebrows. So you're gonna storm in like a vengeful ex and make their lives miserable? As satisfying as that sounded, I shook my head. No, I just want my stuff, and then I want to disappear. Maya nodded. That's fair. You need backup? I considered it. I barely knew this girl, but she had already been more of a friend to me than Lauren ever was. You know what? I said, yeah, let's do it. I don't know why I expected them to be gone when I got there. Maybe I thought fate would give me a break and let me grab my things in peace. Nope. Lauren was sprawled out on my couch, one leg draped over the armrest, scrolling through my Netflix account like she belonged there. Tyler? He was in the kitchen, casually making eggs like he hadn't just torched my entire existence. The rage that bubbled up inside me was instant. Maya, bless her chaotic soul, let out a low whistle. Whew, the audacity in this room is thick. Lauren's head snapped up. She blinked, then had the nerve to smirk. You're back, like I was a guest in my own damn home. Tyler turned, flipping his spatula like this was just another Sunday morning. Didn't think you'd come back so soon. I clenched my fists so hard my nails bit into my palms. Yeah, well, I need my stuff. Not here to chat. Lauren rolled her eyes. You don't have to be so dramatic. Maya let out a loud oof. Girl, read the room. Tyler sighed. Setting his pan down like this was some huge inconvenience for him. Look, I know you're upset, I laughed. Actually laughed. Upset? Wow, Tyler. Way to understate the fact that you were raw-dogging my best friend while I was planning our wedding. Lauren made a face. Do you have to be so crude? I turned on her, fully done with the bullshit. Are you actually insane, or just playing the part? Lauren huffed, crossing her arms. I'm not the villain here, okay? We didn't plan for this to happen. Oh right, I deadpanned. You just accidentally fell into each other's genitals for 6 months? Maya burst out laughing. God, I love you. Tyler pinched the bridge of his nose. Can we not do this? You can grab your stuff, but then you need to leave. I need to leave? I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt. Trust me, I have zero intention of staying in this hellhole any longer than necessary. I marched into the bedroom, my bedroom, but now it felt like it had been tainted beyond recognition. My pictures were still on the nightstand. My perfume was still on the dresser. But the bed, it was unmade. Sheets definitely not the same ones I left yesterday. I swallowed the nausea clawing up my throat and grabbed my suitcase. Maya helped me throw things inside haphazardly: clothes, shoes, my laptop, whatever I could get my hands on. And then I saw it, the wedding binder. It was still sitting on the desk, wide open to the page where I'd written our vows. A thick lump formed in my throat. I picked it up, flipping through pages filled with notes, sketches, dreams. Our dreams. Except they were my dreams, because Tyler had clearly checked out of them a long time ago. A slow, cold anger settled in my bones. Maya must have sensed it, because she nudged me. You good? I nodded, shutting the binder with a final snap. Yeah, I said, I'm done, and I meant it. I was so done. Leaving that apartment should have felt like a win, like a victory march. But as I stepped out onto the street, dragging my suitcase behind me, it didn't feel like anything at all. Just numbness. Maya walked beside me, hands shoved into her pockets. Okay, so what now? Now I was homeless. Now I had to rebuild my entire life from the ground up. Now I had no idea where the hell I was supposed to go. I need a place to stay, I muttered. Somewhere that's not a freaking futon. Maya gasped, dramatically clutching her chest. Are you saying my premium, back-breaking futon wasn't a 5-star experience? I cracked a smile. It was delightful. She grinned. Well, my lease is up soon anyway, and I'm thinking of moving out of my shoebox apartment. You want to split a place? I blinked. Are you serious? Why not? You seem chill, and I need a roommate who won't steal my skincare or sleep with my future boyfriends. You got cash? I hesitated. Enough for a couple of months. After that, I need a job. Maya shrugged. Then let's get you one. And just like that, she became my unofficial life coach. The next few weeks were a blur of Craigslist apartment listings, desperate job applications, and me trying to figure out how to exist without spiraling into an emotional breakdown every 5 seconds. Maya was a freaking saint. Not only did she find us a halfway decent apartment, but she also pulled some strings at the diner to get me a waitressing job. Was it glamorous? Hell no. But it was money. And right now, money was survival. I'd never worked in food service before, and let me tell you, people are demons. The first week alone, I got yelled at, flirted with, and nearly cried in the walk-in fridge. But, weirdly, it felt good. It felt like something real. Something that didn't remind me of Tyler or Lauren or my dumpster fire of a life. At night, Maya and I would sit in our barely furnished apartment, drinking cheap wine and laughing over the absolute trash customers we dealt with that day. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to normal. But then the universe decided to throw me another curveball. It had been a month. A full month since the betrayal, the humiliation, the absolute gutting of my old life. I was finally starting to feel okay. Not great, not healed, but functioning. And then, on a random Thursday afternoon, it happened. I was at the grocery store, minding my own business, trying to decide between 2 brands of overpriced oat milk, when I heard it, "Babe, do we need anything else?" I froze. That voice. His voice. I turned my head, heart hammering against my ribs, and there they were. Lauren and Tyler. Shopping, together, like some sick, twisted parody of domestic bliss. I hadn't seen them since that day in the apartment. Hadn't spoken to them. Hadn't even let myself think about them for too long because every time I did, the rage boiled up so hot I thought it might kill me. But now, seeing them in public, just living their lives like they hadn't absolutely wrecked mine, I saw red. Lauren spotted me first. Her eyes widened slightly, but instead of looking guilty, she had the nerve to smile. "Oh my God," she said, stepping forward like we were old friends who hadn't seen each other in forever. "It's been ages. How are you? How am I? How am I?" I opened my mouth, ready to unleash a storm of words that would probably get me banned from this store for life. But before I could, Tyler let out a heavy sigh like, "I was the inconvenience here. Do we really have to do this?" he muttered, rubbing his temples. Something inside me snapped. "Do what, Tyler?" I said, my voice deceptively calm. "Exist in the same grocery store as you?" He shook his head, already exasperated. "Look, I know you're still upset," I laughed. "You think I'm still upset?" Lauren scoffed. "Oh, come on. It's been a month. You need to move on." My fingers tightened around the oat milk carton in my hand. Move on. Move on. I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay composed. "You know what, you're right. I should move on." I smiled sweetly. "Thanks for the advice, Lauren. You've always been such a great friend." She blinked, finally looking uneasy. Tyler?" I cut in, turning to him. "I really hope she's enough for you." He frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I tilted my head, letting my smile widen just a little. I really hope she's enough, because if she ever isn't... Well, we both know how that story ends, don't we?" His face twisted. Lauren gasped like I just slapped her. And then, satisfied, I turned and walked away because, for the first time since that night, I was in control. And damn, it felt good. The high from that grocery store encounter lasted about 20 minutes. The moment I got home, reality hit like a truck. Yeah, I'd gotten the last word. Yeah, I'd walked away with my dignity intact. But at the end of the day, they still had everything. My apartment, my old life. They were still together, playing house, while I was busting my ass serving pancakes to hungover college kids. And that burned. Maya found me sulking on the couch later that night, a half-empty pint of ice cream balanced on my stomach. "Uh-oh," she said, flopping down next to me. "This is a mood," I sighed. "Saw them today." She winced. "Oof. Let me guess, Lauren still looks like a Botoxed rat, and Tyler still has the personality of a damp sock?" I let out a short laugh. "Pretty much." She nudged me. "So what's the game plan?" Because I refuse to let my roommate become a bitter ex who listens to sad playlists and cries into her dairy-free ice cream. "I don't have a game plan," I muttered. "Well, get one," Maya said. "Look, you don't have to forget about what they did, but you do have to stop letting them live rent-free in your head." Best revenge? Level up so hard they choke on their own regret. Easier said than done. But that night, staring up at my ceiling, I realized something. I'd spent the last month just surviving, scraping by, licking my wounds, but Maya was right. I couldn't just exist like this forever. I had to start living again. So I did something crazy. I took out my laptop, wiped my resume clean of any trace of my old life, and started applying for new jobs. Not waitress jobs, not survival jobs, career jobs. The kind I'd put on hold because Tyler had wanted me to focus on wedding planning. The kind that would actually get me somewhere. I didn't stop there. I went to the gym. Okay, I mostly just walked on the treadmill and judged people, but still progress. I booked a haircut, got my nails done, bought clothes that actually made me feel good instead of like some discount Stepford wife, and slowly, I started feeling like myself again. It took weeks, countless applications, a dozen rejection emails, and more self-doubt than I'd like to admit, but finally, something bit. I got an email from a high-end event planning firm. One of those super exclusive, we only work with rich people places. Apparently, they liked my background in logistics and coordination, read the wedding planning I never got to finish, and wanted me to come in for an interview. Was I underqualified? Probably. Did I care? Hell no. The morning of the interview, Maya practically shoved me out the door. "Go in there and act like you own the damn place," she said. "You got this." And for the first time in forever, I actually believed her. The office was intimidating as hell, floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek modern furniture. An actual waterfall in the lobby, but I held my head high as I walked in. The interview? A blur. They asked about my experience, my problem-solving skills, how I'd handle demanding clients. I pulled answers out of thin air, selling myself harder than a used car salesman on commission. By the end, the interviewer, a sharp-dressed woman named Smomin Lee, leaned back, studying me. "You know," she said, tapping a perfectly manicured nail against her desk. "You remind me a lot of myself when I started out." I held my breath. She smiled. "Welcome to the team." I nearly blacked out. 2 months later, my life looked nothing like it had before. I had a real job, a real apartment, real peace of mind. And then, fate handed me the greatest full-circle moment of all time. Simone called me into her office one morning, tossing a file onto her desk. "We've got a new client," she said. "Big deal, old money. Their son is throwing an engagement party for his fiancé, and they want us to handle the event." I opened the file, and there, staring back at me, were two names that sent a slow, wicked smile curling across my lips: Tyler Grant, Lauren Carter. I looked up at Simone, schooling my face into polite neutrality. "You'll handle it. I swear the universe has a sick sense of humor. After everything, after the heartbreak, the humiliation, the rage, I was now in charge of planning their engagement party. The irony? Delicious. The power? Unmatched." Simone had no idea about my history with these two, and I wasn't about to tell her. This was strictly business, but I knew. And that was enough to make this the most satisfying project I'd ever work on. So I smiled, nodded, and threw myself into planning the perfect event for me, not them. The setup. Over the next few weeks, I worked like a woman possessed. Every detail, every arrangement, every single aspect of this engagement party went through me, and I made sure it would be unforgettable. The guest list? Only the most elite people so far out of Tyler and Lauren's social league. They'd be too intimidated to breathe wrong. The venue? An obscenely expensive rooftop ballroom with a skyline view so breathtaking it would make even royalty feel underdressed. The dress code? Strictly designer. No off-the-rack, no last season fashion disasters. Sorry, Lauren. The catering? A 10-course meal featuring dishes neither of them could pronounce, let alone afford. The music? A live orchestra? Because nothing screams you don't belong here like a string quartet playing while you awkwardly sip champagne. And then, my masterpiece. The guest of honor. I hadn't seen Tyler and Lauren since the grocery store incident. I knew they had no clue I was behind the event, and I wasn't about to ruin the surprise. So when the night finally arrived, I showed up looking flawless. Hairstyled to perfection. A sleek black gown that hugged every inch of me in ways that screamed, "Look at what you lost, idiot," and confidence so lethal it could kill a man. Maya, my unofficial hype woman, gasped when she saw me. "Babe, you look like a revenge fantasy come to life." "Good," I said, adjusting my bracelet, because that's exactly what this is. The guests arrived in droves: millionaires, CEOs, influencers. Tyler and Lauren? They walked in last, which meant they had the entire room's attention. Lauren looked good. I'll give her that. But she also looked out of place, like she knew she didn't belong in a room this grand, but was too stubborn to admit it. Tyler, meanwhile, looked smug, like he thought he'd won. Oh, honey. I waited until they were nice and settled, sipping their overpriced champagne before making my move. With a casual grace I didn't know I had, I stepped up to the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice smooth as silk, "thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate this very special occasion." Lauren turned, squinting. Tyler froze. Recognition dawned on his face so slowly, it was almost funny. His jaw clenched. Lauren's eyes widened. I smiled. "I'm honored to have been in charge of planning this beautiful evening," I continued, relishing the way Lauren's face drained of color. "And I hope it's a night none of us will ever forget." I let that sink in before stepping aside and gesturing toward the actual guest of honor. The billionaire CEO whose company Tyler had been trying to network his way into for years. The same man who, by pure coincidence, was a close friend of my new boss. Tyler's eyes bugged. Lauren's mouth dropped open. I leaned in slightly, just enough for only them to hear. "Hope you enjoy the night," I murmured. "After all, it might be your last chance to impress anyone in this room." And then I walked away, letting them drown in their own failure. I didn't stick around to watch the fallout, but I heard everything the next day. Apparently, Tyler had tried to pitch himself to the CEO, only to get completely shut down. Turns out the guy had zero patience for men who lacked integrity, and when he found out about Tyler's history, game over. Lauren, meanwhile, had embarrassed herself trying to mingle with the upper class, only to end up a laughingstock when she mispronounced half the menu items and knocked over an entire tray of champagne. By the end of the night, they were nobodies, irrelevant, forgotten. And I was thriving.